West Tigers Faithful, episode 17. But it's a little bit different tonight. It's the West Tigers Faithful Christmas party, and for the first time ever, we're actually seeing each other in the flesh. Joe McCord is here with me. How are you, mate?
Oh man, I'm excellent. I'm sitting here right next to you, Jared, at the beautiful Edinburgh Castle Hotel here in the heart of Sydney, in the city. Sinking some Bolter XPAs, drinking Queensland beer.
Is Bolter a Queensland brew?
Yeah, man, it's Gold Coast beer.
Nice, man.
I think somebody out there better not correct me. I'm pretty sure it is.
Being the tight ass I am, because I get paid fortnightly, and it's the second week of my pay cycle. The fact that they're saying pints and schooner prices is what allured me to it. So, well done, Moneybags. Mate, what are you doing in Sydney?
So I'm down here for work to deliver beer to my clients. So Pinch Payments, the generous sponsor of the podcast, who's currently sponsoring Reedy's Beers.
Shout out Pinch.
Has also done up a partnership with Happy Valley Brewing in Brisbane and created a beer that we're giving away to all of our partners and all of our merchants this Christmas to just say thank you, just get them lit to celebrate.
It's a rice beer, isn't it? I think it's
a rice lager. It just, when you're drinking it, it tastes like a lager. It tastes like a really nice lager, but it has an aftertaste where you can really taste it. It's like almost like a sake aftertaste.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's not like nothing like drinking sake, but it has this, like, once you finish it on the palate, it's like, oh, sake.
That's so interesting. I'd never thought I would sort of gain that from a beer.
It's good. It goes down like a regular, really nice lager.
We are recording on a Tuesday night, and I know you only saw this on Facebook, but
the boys,
Dania Taruva, Jerome Luai,
look at that.
Media team's already over it, so you've got a bit of. For the listeners, this is the first time Joe's seen this. Beautiful left to right.
Oh, wow, they're actually training.
Right to left, rather. Jerome putting in a short kick.
Oh.
Yeah. First and foremost, how much better is that black kick compared to that eyesore that is the gold one?
Oh, come on.
And that's not me saying that as a pro West guy. I think that the orange jersey,
you said
the
the
gold
orange one was
jersey,
better last time.
Yeah, that's the jersey, not the training shirt. The training shirt looks heaps better.
The gold Love Heart jersey. Yeah. No, you're right. That black training. You are right. The black.
What's your
Taruva looked like a twig.
What's your reaction? It sounded like you were climaxing there, but what beyond that? What's your reaction seeing that for the first time?
You can just tell Luai is just a pro, man. Can't you?
Yeah, you can.
Like, you just look at him, it's like so many of the other kids would watch training, they're just like, they're trying to figure it out in real time, and they have this look on their face like they're constantly under pressure, and he's just like, let me show you the way, boys.
Yeah, well, but is he only going to be showing the way for 2 years?
No, because we'll win the premiership.
I'm one of the few people.
Is he going to Scotty Princess? Is he going to just win a cup and piss off?
I'd be okay with that.
Off to the Roosters.
I'd be okay with that.
Luai 2027 to the Roosters.
Talking seriously for a moment, I don't think this is necessarily about his commitment to West Tigers. I think this is him about maximising every cent that he can and leveraging deals from expansion clubs against what we'll be able to offer him in a few years. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the question, I guess, is like, if we had have said no to that clause, would he have signed? And I don't know, maybe. Like, because, I don't know, maybe.
Well, it's $6 million of a short income.
But at the same time, like, you know, maybe he would have anyway. Like, maybe it was like, you know, the deal was cooked well and it was already there, and then his agent black money.
Walk right.
Yeah, his agent maybe just was like, do you guys mind, this clause? And then the Tigers were like, okay, I guess. Or maybe it was like from the get-go, like, this is the clause, it's like the terms. We don't know. But like, at the same time, like, if we had pushed back and not made that whole process as super, super easy as we did, maybe, he would have advanced talks with Gus.
Yeah, I think so too. And it comes down to, what would you prefer? Jerome Luai at the club for a minimum of 2 years, or Jerome Luai never walks through the door and he goes to the Dolphins or the Bulldogs?
Well, I'll tell you what. There's like at least some part of me, a very optimistic part of me, that has been wondering whether in 2 years' time Galvin and Latu Fainu aren't so good that we're regretting having them at the club.
Well,
I know it's a very optimistic take, but it's at least a little bit plausible.
Well, it's the Luke Brooks conundrum as well, in the sense of, if he's on that much money and he's not a part of the problem, and he's a part of the problem, and you need to rebuild and reinvest those funds.
Now we've got an out.
Then you would want to see the back of him, right? So
yeah, and if Latu Fainu and Lachlan Galvin in 2 years' time are both be 21, on curve with their talent. You wouldn't want to have $1.2 million tied up in Jerome Luai.
I agree. I don't think that we will get to that point, though. But
it's probably not. I mean, like I said, it's optimistic.
Yeah, but that's right. I mean, look, the main thing is we have him for the next 2 years. He can lay the foundations culturally that we need as a club, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I agree. Circuit breaker. We stopped using that term, didn't we?
Yes, but he is indeed a circuit breaker. Terrell May says he wants to be the alpha of the West Tigers, wants to be that guy that everybody does video on.
We can start by losing the beer belly.
Well, I think he has lost it. He plans on running a marathon in a couple of months.
What happened? How did he lose it so fast? They took a photo with him with the Tigers jersey on, and he looked like me.
Well, to be fair, and to let everybody know, Joe's figure is immaculate. But to give you an idea, mate, those jerseys are tighter than tight. Most front rowers look like that.
And he's Chrissy tight.
Yeah. Now look. Mate, this is a guy that plays 80 minutes each week and reckons his fitness is in an even better place than it was. He's down 5 kilos. I'm not worried about him. He's going to be playing 65, 70 minutes at least.
I hope so.
But he also says he wants to be that guy that other teams come for. He's had a couple of years under Jared Warrior-Hargraves, and he's only had 1 full year of first grade. But he wants to be that guy. Yeah. Does that excite you, or does that?
I actually, everything that's happened with Terrell May since we signed him has actually really, really started to worry me. Everything.
That's really interesting.
Yes, because I'm usually extremely optimistic. I like to talk about the things about the Tigers that I like, and I was so excited about Terrell May signing. But ever since he said what he said about wanting to be the alpha and stuff like that, yeah, great. Bring it on and stuff. But he wasn't the alpha of the Roosters. He doesn't know what it means to be the alpha of a pack. He certainly doesn't know what it means to be the alpha of a pack that teams target.
How do you think Jared Warrior-Hargraves learned?
Sorry?
How do you think the JWH learned at the Roosters?
Look, I'll back him in. I hope he does well. And that's the part, like I just said, that's the part about him that I'm okay with. Everything else.
Yeah, hold on a second. We haven't actually spoken about what you're not okay.
The podcast tour, he looks a little tubby. What did he say? He said something. Oh, what he said about how mad he was about how he felt like that they waited until the 11th hour to tell him they didn't want him so that it could prevent him from going to a better club. Even that was dude, that's a little out of pocket. You just signed with the Tigers and you're already talking about how if they had have let you go earlier, you would have probably been able to sign at a better club.
Okay, I'll give you that.
So,
do you appreciate how candid and honest he's been? I personally do.
A little bit as a man, but also if I look at players around the league that have that sort of brutal honesty, almost naive level honesty in the media, you're looking at players that bring problems to clubs. You're looking at players like Latrell. You're looking at players that actually Payne Haas. You're looking at players that seem to just always just be walking headlines. And at a club that's already a walking headline, and he has a brother who is a walking headline. Why does he want to be a walking headline? Just shut up and do
If Terrell plays like Payne Haas or Latrell Mitchell and he gains all those headlines, I don't give a flying proverbial.
But it doesn't matter how good Payne Haas and Latrell Mitchell play, because what they do brings instability to their clubs, which affects the outcome of their on-field performances.
That's a very good argument. I will give you that.
Look at where those two teams ended in 2024.
Very true, but we finished below them. Look.
I'm just.
No. I completely get where you're coming from, and I understand your concern. I see a guy that
I want to see him get into the off-field training and then just buckle down and stop doing the podcast tour.
Well, that and he's an avid blogger now. Is Terrell? So I think we're going to hear a few more vox pops from him between now and.
Well, you can come on the West Tigers Faithful and put my mind at ease. If you hear this, Terrell, you're welcome on the potty.
Maybe I'll hit him up. He seems like a pretty stand-up bloke. I think he'd have to. John Bateman are going to South. I mean, we've spoken about John a million times over. I don't understand why on earth South would want him unless they plan to play Keon in the middle. But surely this is coming to me.
It's weird, isn't it? Like the word out of Souths was that Wayno went apeshit, said that they were training like crap, called out Isaiah Tuss.
He was doing that as recently as last week.
Yeah, apparently he singled out Isaiah Tuss, said that Isaiah Tuss training was a 3 out of 10, and that was being kind.
That's right. Shout out to Warren.
And then the 3 names of players that apparently they're trying to get on the cheap. And I can see why, from a roster building perspective, that they're going after these experienced senior players that other clubs are willing to pay the majority of the freight for.
For the sake of the listeners, tell them what players they're going for.
Honestly, I can't remember outside of Bateman. Go.
Matt Lodge, Brandon Smith.
That's right.
John Bateman.
That's right. If you're Wayne,
3 problem children.
Wayne Bennett just must think that he's just like the whisperer of broken. He is. I guess you're right. I listened to his audio book.
His book is amazing.
Yeah. So he very well is. Maybe he thinks that he can take Bateman, Smith, and Lodge on cut price deals. But I think that the projection was that he'd be able to get all 3 of those players for under $1 million.
Yes.
Because of what other clubs are playing, and they have 3 roster spots. So if you've got $900,000 to spare, 3 roster spots to spare,
they can get
and
it
you
done.
go Lodge, Brandon Smith, John Bateman. I guess. I guess when you look at what Bateman was put off by with Benji, right?
Yes.
It was Benji was he was too big upping the kids, and he was putting too much of the hard pressure on the older guys and not being respectful.
Yes.
I guess Bennett would do the opposite.
He
at
would.
That club.
He would.
So maybe he is it. He is the genius of the NRL, Wayne Bennett. So who am I to question the logic of it? But hey, take him, bro. It's all good. Take him.
This is a non-West Tigers related question, but is Wayne Bennett your GOAT coach?
Is that even debatable?
He's mine.
I don't even think it's debatable. Michael Maguire is probably the only. He is obviously the only argument. Right? Ivan Cleary's getting close, but Ivan Cleary, we'll see if and how he manages to deal with outside of that Penrith system that Phil Gould built for him.
Bells up. Michael
Maguire, who?
Craig Bellamy.
That's who I meant. Sorry, I don't know why I said Michael Maguire. I meant Craig Bellamy. Michael Maguire.
Moving on.
Craig Bellamy is who I meant.
He's only done it at one club, and he's never won 2 in a row.
That's what I'm saying. It's the same knock that I have on Cleary, right? But also Bellamy has done it at that club for a very, 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 very long time, over many, many generations. So I could make an argument that Bellamy might be the GOAT club coach, because he's made the Melbourne Storm a 20-year legacy.
Do it at a different club and we'll talk. That's where Wayne is different. He's won premierships at different clubs.
Yeah. Bennett's the best player coach of all time, for sure. Because, he can walk into a club and win the comp with them in the second year that he's there. Any rep team that he coaches can suddenly just, beat world champions. Like he walks into the
2020 Origin.
that, you know what I mean? Like he just walks into a rep, like and just so yes, he's the GOAT coach, and Bellamy has yet to even try to. Isn't it weird? Like you'd think at this point in Bellamy's legacy, that'd be the sort of thing he'd be trying to do.
I don't get it either, given that his family lives in Queensland.
He could have taken that.
The Broncos have offered him millions upon millions of dollars.
Yeah, like at this point in time, the only thing Bellamy could do for his legacy is like go at Wayne Bennett.
I think it kind of speaks to the kind of bloke he is, that he doesn't have this ego or this desire to create a legacy at another club, that he's not particularly fussed by.
You're right. I mean, that's obviously true.
But from
he would have done it.
And from a representative level, he left a lot to be desired.
He probably also just knows Wayne Bennett's a better coach than him. Because, like, wasn't Wayne Bennett his coach?
That's right. Wayne was here. He was Wayne's apprentice. He was Wayne's S&C coach.
Who wasn't that?
That's very true.
How many head coaches in the NRL either played under Wayne Bennett or coached or, like...
Tell you who's got...
Even Benji.
Well, tell you who's got the biggest, one of the bigger legacies, and that's Sheensy.
Yeah, he does.
Tim Sheen.
Yeah,
So
he's got Ricky,
Madge, Belzer, Benj.
Yeah.
Did I say Madge?
You did. But then you got to go down the tree.
But there's
because didn't Sheen's also coach Wayne?
No, I don't think he did.
Didn't he?
No.
Didn't Wayne Bennett play for Canberra?
Oh, Todd Payton.
Didn't Wayne Bennett play for Canberra?
No, he coached there. He co-coached there in one of his first years of full-time
So
professional.
he coached next to Sheen?
No, he was there before Tim.
Oh, he was there before Tim.
Tim was Wayne's replacement.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Quite interesting. But yeah, to give you an idea, Sheensy's still got a far-reaching influence, obviously. Benji... I don't think Andrew Webster was. He was involved with the Tigers, but I don't think he was there around the time of
Andrew Webster played under Sheens.
Did he?
Yeah, Andrew Webster was at the Tigers in like 2004.
Okay, well there you go. Belzer, Toddy Payton, Madge, as we said. Yeah, he was well and truly past the modern game, but he knows a few things about passing on the buck.
Yeah. He got it all real quick, that bloke.
He did.
Compared to Wayne.
I don't know how to say.
I hope this audio is good for you all because it's like you're at a pub.
I think it's pretty good.
I hope so. I keep talking into my beer glass though. That can't be helping.
I can see myself peaking as I speak, so I think the microphone's on my side, but I think we're doing okay.
Okay.
Two photos I want to...
Dude, how far... We are 18 minutes in and we haven't even got to the point yet.
No, we haven't. Two things I want to talk to you about.
The dynamic here is that we're in person having a chat at a pub on the beers, so it's a different type of podcast, isn't it?
That's right. This photo hasn't officially been released by the club, but it was posted on his personal channels. Here must you make a city. There's a photo of him next to Royce Hunt, a 192 centimetre Royce Hunt, and he towers over him.
Yeah, he looks like a baby in the face, but aside from that,
absolutely insane.
Yeah, man. I heard some rumours I won't repeat.
Yeah, he is a legitimate presence already at
I heard some rumours you told me I won't repeat.
Yes, please don't.
I heard some rumours you told me that I won't repeat about that essentially confirmed him as a Australian rep with under 20 games under his belt.
You heard that correctly. Think Israel Folau 2008. It's a very similar thing.
Yeah. And with Luai just showing up at training today, imagine once Luai actually starts like really eyeballing the kid.
Well, Mussey's a left-hand carry, so he's always going to play down Jerome's edge.
Yeah.
Which is like
Jerome's going to just. Jerome Jerome's played with some incredible left centers.
Has he?
Was Crichton on the left?
Okay, all right, granted. Yeah, credit was there.
And he played with Taylor there?
Matt Burton.
He's played with some great left centers. So he knows how to distribute.
But I don't think he's played with the best he will play with.
No, I agree. Jerome Luai has not played with Greg Inglis or Israel Folau, and that's what he and Marcy Bonassini is.
That's exactly what he is. What did you say? He's one of one.
We're not even joking. Like he just is. Like he isn't, and he's also He's so physically well put together that there's nothing about him that like makes me worry that he's going to have any kind of like issues with the body.
I agree, man.
He's too big, too strong, too physical.
He's the full package. I heard Phil Gould describe...
His mum must be a beast, bro.
Yeah, she's got to be big boned.
But no, I meant like just a real like tribe warrior woman. Like she must just be just like I want to meet her. I would like to mix genetics with Miss Marcassini.
Well, Mr. Marcassini already has, and he birthed Tia Marcy.
Yeah, he really did. Maybe all right, if you're out there, Mr. Marcassini, I'll do you a trade. My younger sister.
Like the Chinese basketballer that was put together via arranged marriage.
we'll just do an experiment. Science. It's for science, bro.
Another photo I wanted to drag your attention to. Justin Matamua looks pretty trim at the moment.
Dude, I said that a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Well, Richardson... no, hold on a sec. You were calling him Fatamua.
No, I called Sakuru Fatamua. I called Sakuru Fatamua. Actually, if you remember that conversation, I called Sakuru Fatamua because I'm racist, I'm sorry. I thought Sakura was Matamua for some reason. And then when I was like, oh wait, no, that's Matamua. Oh wow, he looks good. That was literally my reaction.
Great. I actually saw him in person. It was a late night trip to MacArthur Square where I saw him, and I didn't realise it was him, and then I double took. But genuinely, he has lost so much weight.
Yeah, he looks thin. Like I'm a little bit. I mean, it's weird because it's like, is that gonna? It might bring him back to where he was before as a player.
Yes.
But does it mean that we can go back to projecting him as a fucking back?
No.
Maybe a big six.
No. I think that he actually resembles a fit lock forward.
Cameron Murray, yeah.
Or he's not on the same level playing field, but an Isaiah Yeo.
From a talent perspective, he is. He was one of the elites of his age group.
He was.
Like he has the makings of it. He just hasn't been able to, like, his development's just stagnated.
Yes, and
it might have been because he got, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think he was a fell victim of putting on too much weight.
Yeah.
He was told to, similar to Lockie, to eat all the Zinger Stacker boxes and the Mega Feast at Macca's.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. So, mate,
I'm excited. We need a 13.
It's a contract year. I hope it works.
13 is a position that's completely up for grabs at the West Tigers.
I hear that, mate.
It is the one position at the West Tigers that is completely up.
I'll give you an exclusive though. It's Jack Bird.
For now, but it's like the season doesn't start till February.
Well, that's right. I would love to see Juz come in after round 6, round 8 and own it. He's a guy that I've loved coming through the ranks for many years. He just hasn't had the mongrel because he's always played in the half. So we'll see. Mate, we're about to get into the teeth of this episode, but before that, do you want another jug?
Yeah, we do need another jug.
All right, well, back in a sec. Well, we've been around the bush for approximately 23 minutes. But at this point, we may as well actually talk about what we're going to do. Mac, this was your idea. Do you want to tell the listeners what we're actually going to do now?
Mate, we're scraping the barrel for our Christmas party episode. I just had an idea. I was like, in the world of business, there's this thing called a SWOT analysis. Business people out there will know what I mean. A lot of you will know what I mean.
Where's Giles? Giles will know it.
A SWOT analysis is something that you do to essentially like analyze your business, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Just so that you can then, when you're actually coming up with, your forward plans, whether they're marketing plans or whether they're business plans in general, hiring plans or whatever, you can, make sure that you've critically analysed the business through the right lenses before actually going. Stops you from making decisions that aren't actually going to solve problems or double down on strengths. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to SWOT analyse the Tigers, but not just the Tigers, but also SWOT analyse 4 other clubs, and then compare where the Tigers are as they look through the lens of a SWOT analysis versus 4 other clubs. And those 4 other clubs, we chose shows 2 clubs that were kind of in the middle, another battler. Is that where we went in the end?
Yeah, I think so. So we had a lowly colleague, so somebody who's been a bottom feeder alongside us for many years.
The Gold Coast Titans.
Yes. We picked a fellow rapid rebuilder, so in the last 12 months we've undergone a lot of systemic change.
Yeah.
The Brisbane Broncos have done very similar. We compared ourselves to them.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about a rusted-on top 10 club, not necessarily a top 8 club.
Just one that never comes last, yeah.
That's right, a top 10 club that always tends to do pretty well in the Manly Sea Eagles, and finally the best of the best, because who are you if you're not comparing yourself to the best, right? So obviously the Penrith Panthers.
And then you took it a little bit more deep, which is cool. You broke some of the categories down into like subcategories.
Yeah, so obviously in terms of, we talked about strengths and weaknesses, there's some opportunities, some threats, but we also talked about unique resources, some limitations, and some advantages that some of these clubs have compared to their counterparts.
Yeah.
So with that in mind...
Just before you go on, I think that it's probably better if we start with the Tigers and then compare them to the other clubs. So you probably want to start with the Tigers, because then you can compare the Tigers against each club individually to see which ones we look the most like, and that should give you a pretty good idea of where it would be reasonable to expect our performances to be.
Okay, well, with that in mind, let's have a look in the mirror. So in terms of what the Tigers do well, you and I, we spoke about this pre-episode because this was something that we actually wanted to put together and quite recently. In terms of what the Tigers do well, and this is probably in the post-Madge era and the post-Ivan era, is blood youngsters.
Yeah.
So, Jareen, the Leahy brothers, the Finu brothers,
Mason,
Lachlan Galvin, Heath Mason. We do that really well. There is an argument, and you actually put this to me, that if Galvin wasn't suspended this year, we would have had the 2 reigning rookies of the year on our roster.
Yeah, and that's not Buller, that's Saruva, but Buller was robbed, as we all know.
That's absolutely right.
He was, 100%.
In terms of what we do well, I wouldn't say fan engagement. I think that they are improving with that, but we do have diehard rusted-on fans. Yeah. We also have the most fan podcasts of any club.
Look it up. We 100% do.
Shout out Westlife and Tiger Town and the West Tigers podcast and the like, and Behind the Raw. But what I'd like to say in the post-match era, mate, is the fact that we recruit really well.
Yeah.
You actually put this to me. We do, don't we?
Yeah, I think we've actually always, even when we were going bad, like when we needed to do these like big recruitment rebuilds, we always did okay. It just never coincided with having like also the emerging talent to what's the word I'm looking for here, to complement the recruits that we brought in, or vice versa.
The only time that ever happened was 2005, correct?
Or right now.
Well, that's a good point. Okay, let's talk weaknesses. There are thousands, but we've tried to sort of how do you say, surmise them as best as we can.
Yeah.
What don't we do well?
Summarise.
We don't do stability well.
No.
We turn over coaches every 3 to 4 years. It's a poison chalice, as James Hooper would say. We have a lot of directors of football that jump between the club. Adam Hartigan, Tim Sheens, Matt Betsy, Kelly Egan, these sorts of guys. It's a constant churn.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of different recruitment managers. Everybody remembers Scott Full, Warren McDonald.
He was only here for like a half a year.
That's right, these sorts of guys. Shane Richardson is the first administrator to ever turf a recruitment manager because he doesn't think he needs it, because as we've established, he has a Rolodex as dense as that man's skin folds. And obviously, there's no stability in the playing group either. There's some fucking good players that we always have on our top 30, but we turn over the roster every 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and now that you've articulated it, I think that what that weakness truly is, that underlying weakness, is our ownership group.
Yes.
I think that's the weakness that causes everything you just said.
I think you're right. One thing that you pointed towards was, in terms of what we don't do well, is strength and conditioning. We spoke about it a lot in our team reviews and our player reviews. But since Steve Folkes, God rest his soul, left the club at the end of 2012, we weren't good enough.
Even before him, like even when we won the comp, we did not win it by being the most physically superior team. We won it with Tim Sheen's level guile.
Yes.
Like the West Tigers' identity has never been built around physicality, aside from, as you say, that very, very brief period of time where we had Steve Folkes.
That's right. Obviously, in terms of what we talked about with stability is roster management. Our succession plan has never been good enough. We had the right pieces in place in terms of Tedesco, Moses Brooks, one of Mania Cherrington and Jacob Little, but we just never stuck the landing.
Yeah, and always paying the wrong players.
You compare that to Melbourne, who had Pappenhausen, Drinkwater Hughes, Munster, Brody Croft, Brandon Smith, Harry Grant. I just don't think that we've managed to ever get that right. But also, I would argue that at the same time, that comes with Pathways investment, which we are finally fixing, but is not quite fixed.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
But also, again, is probably more systematically related to the ownership problem, because when you have poor ownership, you generally have poor administration, because your ownership group cause destabilization in the management of the club. They don't let the club management bear out long-term plans, or they hire the wrong people in the first place. And it's only like right now, like even I think roster management has been an issue in the club forever. Like even though we won a comp, even though we made the finals 2 years in a row, poor roster management meant we were one and done when it came to that 2005 group, two and done when it came to that 2010 and 2011 group.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of resources, obviously our junior base is huge. Richo's been carrying on quite recently about the fact that we're going to have more juniors than Penrith next year. I don't know how he can say that when in March next year there might be a few more registrations, but that is a unique resource to us. Like Penrith, like Brisbane, like the Dragons, we have a very, very untapped junior base, and that is a unique resource to us that not many clubs are afforded with their own catchments. One thing that I do want to put towards, and a lot of people are going to death ride and bash Benji, but he is the only Polynesian coach in the entire league, and he's also the youngest coach in the league. Now, in terms of you look at the amount of Polynesian and Pacifica players that are in the entire NRL, forget the Tiger squad, the entire NRL, and this current generation, I think we're well positioned in that point, and I think that's actually been reflected in our recruitment.
Yeah, it has to be viewed as a strength for sure. Like, I mean, obviously, though not the Polynesian part, but the age part also has to be viewed as a potential weakness. But when it comes to the fact that we are, as a club, have a big junior catchment, and Pathways is such a big factor in our club, then having a youthful coach, you could go both ways, couldn't it? Like, you could view having a youthful coach as a good thing because he might be a good player manager for those boys, but those boys might also gain more from having an experienced coach. The jury will be out on that one.
I completely agree. In terms of limitations, we're 3-time spooners. There's only a certain amount of sponsors and corporates that will look at us. There's only a certain group of players and a certain personality type that will look at us. I don't think that we were able to acquire the assistant coach that we probably needed. I think that probably would have went to a glamour club. I look at a guy like Justin Holbrook and the fact that he folded into the Roosters after being sacked from the Titans. That is a limitation. And this is something that you brought up and I want you to expand on, is the fact that despite the fact that the front office is relatively now in order, the club continues to embarrass itself.
Yeah, like, I think that the Tigers are a very insecure club. And Shane Richardson's generally not a very insecure man. But I can tell that even he is a little bit insecure in being the CEO of the Tigers, because he just, the crocodile rolls and, coming out and
I never heard that when he was at South.
Coming out and claiming that we have the best spine in the NRL, like all of this big talk.
I would argue he's pretty bullish normally.
No,
he's always bullish.
I just think that stuff comes across like big talk, the same sort of big talk that somebody who, is worried that they don't actually have, what's needed inside to like back up that talk. And the Tigers just do that. They haven't worked out how. I think we still have an identity problem. The Tigers until we actually have some on-field success, though, that's just going to be the case, because we're just going to like oscillate. We're just going to like roll from like failure administration to the next failure administration. They're all going to come up with their catchphrases and their strategies, and it's just going to make everybody's eyes roll until it works. And that's why like they should probably shut up more so. You know what I mean? Like less talk, more action. Just stay out of the media. Don't come up with catchphrases. Don't like talk about the club as though we're like going to make the 8 now. Let Phil Gould pump our tyres up for us. He seems to be the spokesperson of the Tigers. Let him do it. You don't need to do it, Richo.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I do think that that's Richo saying there's no excuses. We have everything we need.
He can say it internally.
So when he sacks Benji, he goes, if he sacks Benji, he can easily say, well, we have all these things.
Yeah, but that stuff could just be kept internal. I mean, yeah,
I absolutely agree.
Maybe he has a tactical reason for doing so. The point is that we just keep putting ourselves in the media, and we're just media fodder, so we just need to stop doing that, because it causes instability. The media does cause instability to the club. Like it gets the players thinking too much. It gets the players talking to each other about perception. Stay out of the media. Don't play the media game. Avoid the media game. Put players on media lockdown for the whole year.
Probably not a bad idea. Opportunities and advantages. Obviously, we talk about the junior base, but we have a generational junior cohort at our fingertips. Lachlan Galvin, Talon De Silva, Ian Makasini, Luke Laliti, Jareem Buller, Fanua Bole, Samuel Afinu, Latu Fainu. All of these guys are going to be massive parts of our future. Another opportunity is the fact that we have Shane Richards. To utilise his reputation and his gravitas is an opportunity.
It is, for sure.
Anything to add?
I mean, we can't get any worse.
That is an opportunity. Absolutely.
Like, there's no pressure, really, from that perspective.
Yes, that's true. In terms of threats, obviously teams picking the eyes out of a junior base. I think that is happening already. You look at Anthony Large and Alex Isdale, that's already happening. Obviously the threat of losing Lachlan Galvin is a massive concern. That is very, very similar to losing James Tedesco circa 2017. Obviously the threat, therefore, of glamour clubs, of corporate sponsorship, of...
I mean, Terrell May would have gone to a glamour club if the Roosters hadn't waited to.
Well, I suppose you're right.
That's what he said.
Well, but at the same time, we can be glad he's ours, and I think that he will put in, despite the fact that he did say that on record. But one thing you did mention to me, and I'm really interested by this, and I don't know how much of this is pub talk, but you believe that a threat is rival codes in our junior catchment. Can you expand?
Well, I mean, we are the West Tigers, and our catchment has an AFL club in it and an A-League club in it, and most other NRL teams, aside from the big ones, don't have to compete with them.
Right.
The Dragons don't have an AFL club or an A-League club to compete with. The Sharks don't. The New Zealand Warriors do not.
Oh.
The New Zealand Warriors, no, they don't.
They do now. Auckland City.
Oh, okay. They got a soccer team now, do they?
Yes.
Football team. They still don't have the threat of AFL. Point is, look, I mean, it is pub talk in a sense, but like it does certainly. I think that it also rugby union. I don't know, like I feel like with the way Suali'i has hit the ground in union, they're gonna look at potentially Western Sydney pathways to find players, and they obviously made a big play for Hiamasi. They'll probably make a big play for Onatoni.
That's where he belongs.
So
it's not something that's really worth discussing too greatly, but I do think it is. I do, like, looking purely through the lens of a SWOT analysis, if I was looking at it from a business perspective, I would view it as a threat.
Okay, all right.
It's not really a discussable one, though.
Fair enough. So, just to sort of recap, in terms of our strengths, it's our junior base, it's our ability to blood youngsters, it's our fans and our recruitment capacity. What we don't do well is stability and strength and conditioning in our roster management. In terms of opportunities, we have a massive junior base, we have a Polynesian coach, and our threats is, rival codes and glamour clubs. So, without
that's from, like, my perspective, like, that paints a fairly optimistic picture.
It does.
Like, we have a lot of everything. We have a lot of strengths.
We do.
There's a lot of opportunity, but there's also just as many weaknesses and threats. And for a talented administrator, that's an exciting thing because it means that you can articulate the problems.
Well, why do you think he took us on? So
there you go.
Moving on. Okay, let's compare ourselves sort of to the Titans. So you put me to work here. So in terms of what they do well, the Titans develop fullbacks really fucking well. So they've managed to develop a lot of outside backs. So I'm talking Phil Sami, AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, Keanu Kenny, along with the occasional forward. When they catch fire, they're incredible to watch.
Yeah.
That game where they put 50 on the Broncos, I did not anticipate 20 minutes out from full time that would have been the scoreline. But when they're cold, they're just not good enough. The first 8 weeks of the competition typified that. They have some amazing forwards at the club. I'm not necessarily talking about player development here, but guys like Bo Fermor, David Fafita and Tino Suamali Awi are guys that were developed at other clubs. They've done exceptionally well to retain those guys. Malaki Fodawaker, I'll always have a soft spot for because of his older brother, but he's an amazing footballer in his own right as well. Jamie Jolliffe is one of the great effort players in the NRL as well. So they do that really well. What don't they do well is succession planning, just like us. They're looking for the heir of Scott Prince's throne the same way that we are. They didn't find it in Kane Elgee. They didn't find it in Ash Taylor.
They've had some good prospects, haven't they? They've had better prospects than we've had.
Well, we'll get to that.
Haven't been able to
they seem to have a Toby Sexton, Tanner Boyd, Tom Weaver.
He's the one, bro. They need to persevere with Weaver.
No, I'll get to the one that I think is the one, but they seem to have these gun sevens, but they never seem to develop them and be patient with them in the way that they should.
Yeah, that's right.
Also haven't.
Yeah, develop them.
Also, besides Nathan Friend, have you seen a decent 9 there? Nathan Pete, sure. Have you seen a decent 9 there? Chris Randall and Chris Randall and Sam Verrills are good players.
Yeah,
but they were developed at other clubs.
They have never had an elite one.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Furthermore, in terms of weaknesses, and this backs on to succession planning, they have no recognised halfback. Kieran Foran is one of my favourite non-Tigers players of the last 10 years.
Really?
But he's not a halfback. Yeah, he's up there with Wade Graham for me.
Wow.
And Tom Trbojevic.
I reckon Foran. Oh, wow. Okay, we'll talk offline about that because I don't rate him at all.
Okay, well, I love it, but they don't have a recognised halfback, and Kieran Foran has never been a halfback in his life.
Great lad, though. I like him as a person.
They also struggle to make the tough call on their outside backs. So what I mean by that is that they try to mould Brimson into a centre. They're trying to mould Campbell into a 6. I don't think he's a 6. They're now looking around where Phil Sami actually fits, but I think he's one of the actual key pieces in their back 5. My point around all of that is the fact that they need to make tough calls and actually just do some things around their roster management where they just nip it in the bud and they make those tough calls. In terms of unique resources, they have the Nutty Professor and they also have private ownership. A lot of these clubs are owned by big leagues clubs with poker machines. The Titans are not one of these teams. They have the Frizzell family. In terms of their limitations, they exist in a small city. They are the Gold Coast Titans, not the Brisbane Titans or the South Bank Titans.
Gold Coast is bigger than Cronulla. Cronulla won a comp.
Sure, that's bigger. It's bigger than Cronulla, but if we're going to talk about corporates, they're in the same pool as the Dragons. Wollongong doesn't offer that much. They're also beginning to struggle with the might and power of the Broncos in all facets. They were the shiny new plaything
Now
you know,
Redcliffe are.
in the late 2000s. Now it's Redcliffe, and the Broncos have always had the might and power. We talked about in terms of halfbacks and developing the right guy. The opportunity is Zane Harrison. I know you're pretty keen on him as well. I think he's an amazing halfback. I think he's the best. Look, Mitchell Woods was the greatest of his 18-year-old cohort. The next one is Zane. Zane Harrison, for those of you who don't know, is an amazing halfback, very, very naturally talented, but a very good game manager at the same time. Played for Palm Beach Currumbin. He's going to do great things.
It's not as good as Logan Brooks, although they're different positions, but he's
While-
not as good of a player.
While the Titans have a lot of money invested in their forward pack, they can afford to have Zane on, 250, 300K.
Yeah, he's just the next Ash Taylor, though, isn't he? That's the point, Reedy. That's the problem.
But this is the difference, Mac. Ash Taylor was brought up in the Brisbane system. This guy's injected with Gold Coast DNA, whatever that is.
Oh yeah, Palm Beach Currumbin. So like, where did all of the other where did Tana Boyd go to school?
He was a Brisbane boy as well.
What about Weaver?
Weaver was a North Coast, New South Wales.
Oh, he
guy.
was he?
He was.
So
he was technically a Titans
So
junior.
maybe this is the issue. Maybe Zane Harrison's the first genuine Gold Coast one.
Well, Alexander Brimson is the genuine
But he
Gold
was a
Coast
halfback,
dog.
not halfback.
Yeah, but he's not a halfback.
Not a Nathan Cleary level leader of
That's
a
right.
team on the field.
But this is where I see an opportunity. You've got a guy that is the nutty professor in Des Hasler that is going to see a guy and he's going to develop him and turn him into the halfback that they need.
Well, he made GCE.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Des wasn't at the club when Toby Sexton came through, who's gone on to do great things at the Dogs. I have reservations about Toby, but today's not the day. Zane might be that guy. It's a nice place to live. They recruit reasonably well. I don't think they've ever recruited that badly. I think their recruitment model and what they target
They just
is...
miss a lot.
I don't think what they target... I think what they target is wrong, but who they target... They tend to get who they want. It's a good place to live. It's nice. I mean, you're a Brisbane guy, but, as a Sydney sider moving north... The Gold Coast is it's a nice place. I wouldn't say in surfers. It's a soulless place to be.
Oh yeah, the rest of the Gold Coast, like Runaway Bay, Burleigh Heads.
My point.
Beautiful. Yeah.
My point.
Yeah.
And the advantage is obviously a premiership winning coach, which not many places have. The threats, this is a club that hasn't got off the ground at all since its inception.
Their threat is themselves.
Mate, before Holbrook got to the club, we were talking about them folding.
Yeah.
It's actually a credit to Justin Holbrook's coaching and obviously Des Hasler off the back of that we're not necessarily talking about them folding, but the closest they got was the 2010 preliminary final before Scott Prince went off injured when they were going to make a grand final in place of Eastern Suburbs. They've never gotten back there ever, and they're running out of time.
Yeah, I think all of that was a very good appraisal. I think that the Gold Coast, where they went wrong in the first place, was that they didn't do what Redcliffe did. The Dolphins hit the ground running with the GOAT. You know what I mean? They hit the ground running with Wayne Bennett.
True. They went with John Cartwright, who at that time was a rookie coach.
Yeah, so the Gold Coast Titans, Des Hasler is by far and away the most reputable coach they've ever had.
Agreed.
And they've only just put him in there. And so they have to persevere with him. And I think that's you need to be able to build the DNA of a club so that DNA has influence on generations and generations of the club to come. And the Gold Coast Titans never built that DNA in the first place.
With that in mind, the Titans are a small-time team, and they've got a few excellent players, but they've invested in far too many forwards from a salary cap perspective. They need to be the Roosters and the Storm of the North, I think, and just pick the eyes out of the junior pools, but there's no indication that they've really done so. They've got some good players that sit in their squad, but I don't think they've really brought them through with the Titans' DNA in mind.
Yeah, and I think that there's a reason why, even though we have been similarly a struggle club with a similar amount of years in the league, there's a reason why we won a comp and they haven't won a comp. And that's that DNA thing. They never established that, and that is something of a strength of the Tigers, and it's why we keep bringing in people like Huntington and Hodgson and shit. Because we're trying to overplay the DNA a little bit.
But we've had success.
So it makes sense to try. and that's what. Yeah. So like while we're trying to kind of almost always rebuild the club and like reimagine the club, and now we're looking at it and going, bring Benji and the boys, let's capture the DNA. The Titans have no DNA to capture, and from that perspective, I feel like now that we've also got all of the other things that align pretty closely to them in terms of not necessarily the specifics, but like how many strengths and how many weaknesses and stuff like that. I think that we'll probably finish higher on the ladder than them for the next few seasons.
I think so too. Look, we're both bottom feeders, but we're different teams.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of speed out wide. We don't really. They have a lot of powerful forwards. We probably only have a couple, but they don't possess the class and the spine.
We got the spine.
I'm not going to say that we have the best spine in the comp, but you compare it to what they had. They have Kinney, Campbell, Foran, Randall. We have Bullock, Galvin, Luai, Coruscant. They don't have the same class that we do. And as a result, I don't think that they can do anything to break the competition.
No, I agree. I think we finished well ahead of them on the ladder.
Well, time will tell. Next club we're going to review is a fellow rapid rebuilder, so somebody that's gone under something of a mini rebuild in the last 12 months, and that's the Brisbane Broncos. This one will be a little bit quicker in terms of the Titans, because a lot of the answers are in black and white.
Yeah.
What they do well, they develop youngsters well. There's always the next guy to come off the production line, whether it be in the forwards, the backs, or the spine. They can keep their superstars when they want to keep them. You look at Reece Walsh in recent times, that speaks to the fact that they can do that. Adam Reynolds was a free agent for months, and they were able to sign him on a cut price deal. There wasn't even a rumour about other clubs coming in for him. They're a true attacking powerhouse. They are lethal across the entire field. From Moser to Carrigan to Reynolds, man, when he's actually on the field at the time. It's been Hunt at other times. You have Walsh sweeping around the back. You have Cobbo and Staggs in the centres. You have one of the best young outside backs in the entire world in Dean Mariner. It just speaks to the fact that they are a true attacking powerhouse. Their weaknesses, their culture fucking stinks. It is terrible, and it's this.
Couldn't half see that coming though. Like it was obvious that was about to happen.
You mean the Mam saga?
No, I mean before that. Like you could just tell, like that year that they went postal and Nelly won the grand final. That club was just reeking of arrogant players.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Their culture stinks, and there's a reason why Matt just put a six-pack ban on them and everything like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And in the shed after a game, win or loss, there was too many blokes in the shed. It was far too much. The training sessions are a fanfare, which speaks to the fact that they're not where they need to be. I think that from a roster management point of view, they spend too much cap away from this point. Staggs and Cobbo are on too much. Piakura and Ricky are on too much. Patrick Carrigan, he's a 13. You could argue he's part of the spine to an extent. They spend a lot of money there. Payne Haas is obviously on $1.1 million. He's a phenomenal footballer, and he's an exception to all the rules around middle forwards, but it's a lot of money. And they're fragile defensively, which is an attitude problem which folds into culture.
Well,
Anything to add?
Their OG super coach, Warren Ryan. I think it was Warren Ryan. Said that club needs to have two superstars in the team that they spend more on than anyone else in the roster. And in most premiership winning clubs, those two superstars are both skill players.
Yeah, okay.
At the Broncos, it's one skill player and Payne Haas.
Who would you argue is a skill player?
Like a spine player, generally. Yeah. But like it can be a dummy half.
No, but
can be a fullback at 6 or
I'm
7.
saying to you, who is that guy at the Broncos?
Oh, Reece Walsh.
Okay, so you don't think that Adam Reynolds is a skill player? Or do you
No,
think...
what I'm saying is you can only have two for balance, right?
Oh, you mean you can only spend...
yes.
You're talking from a monetary perspective.
So what? Yes, that's the point. So when they've got Walsh, Reynolds, and Haas, they've got too many, and especially when that third one is also a prop, that causes depletion in
in their roster
That's
elsewhere.
a very good point.
It means that they have no depth. It means when they struggle from injuries, they've got no depth.
It also means that they have to be wanting somewhere in the spine, and I believe that that's 9.
Yeah, it is.
In terms of
100%.
In terms of unique resources, obviously the Prestige, they only play on Friday nights. They have the Thoroughbreds. They were the first team in Brisbane. They're not the only team in Brisbane now, but they were for a long time. They have a CEO by the name of Dave Donaghy who has been through it all with the Melbourne Storm, which obviously certainly helps their case. In terms of limitations, they don't really have a limitation. The only thing that I really mentioned was the fact that there isn't a national competition to compare their Pathways players to those in New South Wales and the systems down there, but that's barely a limitation. You can make the same argument for a New South Wales team that they don't get to pit themselves against the might and power of the Broncos. In terms of opportunities, they have a team that has made a grand final quite recently. They have a coach that, providing that the players buy in, that can take them to the promised land. And with Ben Hunt, they have an experienced, classy footballer that keeps their premiership window open in terms of threats on and off the field. It's the Dolphins. In terms of threats around a footballing perspective, Hunt and Reynolds have only got 12 to 24 months in them at a maximum. And furthermore, Madge struggles to deal with egos in the rockstar culture.
Read that out. Go on. Read that.
When Hunt and Reynolds retire, the premiership window shuts. Do you think that's true?
No.
Why
I
not?
think that's true. Because it's the Broncos. And also because when Hunt and Reynolds retire...
Hold on a minute.
They release so much of their salary cap, and they've got a kid by the name of Kobe Black.
He's good.
Coming through, and Ezra Mam, sorts out his off-field bullshit. They've still got Reece Walsh, and they've still got Payne Haas. So I don't think that their premiership window shuts, but maybe
I think it shuts for a couple of years at least. Kobe needs to take a little while. Blake Mosley needs to take a little while until they are premiership winning spine.
Yeah, they need to keep Jock Madden around for succession planning.
Look, culture aside, the Broncos have everything they need to exceed. There is premiership winning quality in the roster. There's a coach that can take them there, and Ben Hunt is the icing on the cake. When you want to compare them to the Tigers, it's really difficult because we don't have the prestige that the Broncos do. The only Sydney club that really does is the Roosters. The Tigers and the Broncos have big junior bases and world-class facilities, but that's where the comparisons stop. Off-field, they leave us for dead. The corporate opportunities they possess, we could only dream of. And, that's even with the addition of the Dolphins. Is there anything that you see from the Broncos that we can take as West Tigers fans and the club can take?
No, the Broncos' destiny is constantly controlled by the Broncos. That's the thing.
That's right.
Like, they make themselves, and that's why, they always make such pointed decisions. Like, when the Broncos aren't successful, they go, fuck that, real quick. They don't buy into some cost fallacy at all. Will it work? I think they've made the right decision. Like, Madge is the right coach for that team right now. Of the available
He'll win him a comp.
Of the available options, he's the right coach for that team for sure. No, I think that they will return to my prediction is they will return to power this year. When looking at this whole thing as a point, like the point of this whole SWOT analysis episode, it's to see whether those other clubs that are whether they're the best club in Penrith or middling clubs like Brisbane or lowly clubs like the Titans, whether the Tigers' profile is competitive to them. Unless the culture problem continues to cause issues at the Broncos are going to be above us.
And so they should be, again, because of all the advantages they possess in the business opportunities, because that's the type of club.
Although we do have them, we have them and every club in the NRL covered for NRL-ready pathways talent.
That's right.
That is our biggest strength.
I agree. Right now, obviously, Penrith don't have it because they haven't in the past.
Yeah,
But
they will have it again.
The Brisbane have a production.
Yes, they do. But Tigers are already pathway talent.
Well, Mac, the next club we have on our list is a consistent top 10 side. And it's a side that we swap players with many a time in the past 18 months.
Caitlin Jordan says hi. I recorded it.
What do you think of Manly?
Fucking hate man.
No, yeah, there
As
you
you
go.
should. There you go. The Manly Sea Eagles.
Sorry, we got some punters here.
Turkovich brothers are a fucking bunch of white.
Okay, get out of here. Yeah, move on.
Moving on, the Manly Sea Eagles. They're a consistent top 10 side. So with their SWOT analysis, in terms of what they do well, they're consistent. There's been a few coaches in the last decade, but they tend to remain in a decent spot. They've also won a comp in every decade that they've been a side in either the New South Wales Rugby League
Well, you take that, wouldn't you?
or the National Rugby League, absolutely. In terms of what else they do well, they've got a lot of great leaders. DCE, the Trebojeviches, even Josh Alloway, which a lot of West Tigers fans will laugh at, but in terms of the Polynesian influence he has, he's well loved by that playing group. And I think that helps immeasurably when you have a head coach who has the charisma of a wet towel. Furthermore,
You mean a head coach who is the ultra fraud of the NRL?
I don't believe he's the ultra fraud.
He's
We'll get to that later. They tend to retain players pretty well. Obviously, Daly backflipped on the Titans. They kept him. They kept the Trebojeviches. Tolu Kola didn't go to rugby. Jason Saab, they've locked down on long-term deals. Hamoli signed a big deal. A lot of them have been tied down for the long term, and that's actually a credit to them. What they don't do well is that their forward pack sucks.
so bad.
The Tigers at Leichhardt mauled like the 2024 Tigers.
Because
You know,
because their forward pack is the 2023 West Magpies.
Well, that's right. Hello, Atashi and the rest. There's obviously an over-reliance on Tom Trebojevic. Everybody knows that. But I also think another weakness, and I know they've got a small junior base, and I know they have to be a little bit like the Roosters and the Storm and just sort of pick the eyes out of other systems, but they've neglected their pathways a lot. Tony Mestrov, their CEO, he's been pro-draft for a long time. He's spoken about that on the buy round and whatnot, and you know, I can't recall a Northern Beaches junior coming through the ranks at Manly since Trebojevic.
Yeah, well, it's because they're too busy becoming teals.
Seriously?
They don't play footy up there anymore. They just become teals, right?
It's very true, mate.
Yeah. It's not, do they even have a junior catchment at all?
Well, they have the Northern Beaches, but they don't. I don't think there's much more to it. They typically look to the north and southwest to try and find their players.
They used to just get our juniors, but now we've got Tartak. Hey, how you going, Tartak?
They seem to speak to the right people in the junior recruitment ranks, though, to identify some places they need. Obviously, Anthony and Ashton have gone to those guys. Joey Walsh has gone over there.
Who?
He's a halfback that was playing Union. That was their next great fly half that the Sea Eagles managed to pitch.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, there's another hooker in addition to Ashton, but they do pretty well in terms of that sort of junior recruitment. But I also mean Tolu Kola, Hamoli, those sorts of guys as well.
I think we're about to get interrupted again.
That's all right. But furthermore,
No, we're not.
No, we haven't. They haven't managed to take the step this decade at least to a grand final. And that was the knock on them in 2021. They never really beat a top four side, and it's been the knock on them ever since. In terms of unique resources, they're privately owned. It's an incredible area to live. Obviously, who wouldn't want to live in Manly? In terms of the opportunities, they have a great succession plan around the guys that we just spoke about. Their limitations, it's a small junior catchment. They're a small fish in a big pond. They're probably the second smallest Sydney side. In terms of advantages, Tom Trebojevic is probably their biggest advantage. I would say Daly, but he's going to retire in the next couple of years. The biggest threat is that being an Isaac Moses McDonald's franchise,
Which is also what I was getting at.
that may hurt them.
Because Seabold is a fraud. Isaac Moses and Seabold are just literally just mutually con artists, bro. Ask any Brisbane fan. You might be somewhat isolated from this being from Sydney, but Isaac Moses and Seabold conspired to screw Brisbane. That's what caused Brisbane's wooden spoon.
I agree. There was an over
And now he's back. Now they're back together.
There was an over reliance on Cove Sports Agency representatives.
He's going to do it again. Watch.
But my counter argument.
Unless this works out.
My counter argument to this, Mac, is the fact that last year Manly made the finals.
Yeah, because they've still got DCE and they've still got Tommy Turbo. As soon as Tommy Turbo and DC, as soon as that DNA is out of the club,
Okay.
and that Seabold went well with the Broncos in the first year too.
Okay, so my argument with Seabold is that I think that he's a good tactician. And I think he's good from an S&C point of view. I think he's a terrible man manager.
I just think
Which is why he succeeds at Manly, because
I
there's
just
strong
think he's a
leadership
pure
there.
fraud. I just think, like, bro, Manly performed better with the same core players before he was there.
Fair enough.
Like, Tom Trebojevic and DCE, any time those two had a fully injury uninterrupted season, Manly made the 8 every season.
Okay.
Seabold does not move the needle north at that club. He does not.
All right.
And now he's got freaking an Isaac Moses McDonald's franchise just like he did at Brisbane. Mark my goddamn words, bro. As soon as Tom Trebojevic, and more sooner, DCE are gone from that club, it's going the same way.
I have one question to ask you. What can the Tigers learn from a constant top 10 team in the Manly Seagulls?
Oh, bro, like, okay. Once you find your core two talented players, you just stick with them for a decade. Beyond that, avoid Anthony Seabold and Isaac Moses like the goddamn plague. Like, I don't. There's nothing else to it. Like, Manly are the perfect example of a club that found two generational talents at two spine positions, and they just went nuts, just doubling down on them over and over again forever, and it worked. So that's what we need to try to do, and we've got that.
Okay, and who are those two?
Jerome Malloy and Lachlan Galvin.
Hold on, you said a little while ago.
We'll see. But like right now, it projects to be those two. But like, it could be Jerome Buller and Lachlan Galvin. It could be Lachlan Galvin and Latu Fainu. It could be Lachlan Galvin and Talon De Silva. Like, we don't know which
I
direction.
think those are the two.
But one of them is Lachlan Galvin.
I agree with you. Okay. We've compared ourselves with a fellow cellar dweller, a rapid rebuilder, a top 10 constant. But the only way that you're really going to succeed is to pit yourself against the best of the best. And that's the Penrith Panthers. In terms of what they do well, it's a question of what they don't do well. But what they do the best is discipline, their game plan, and their player development. I don't think there's any other club in the league that does it as good as them, or has ever done it as good as them. You can talk about Bellamy turning these budget footballers into superstars or into job doers. You look at what Ivan Cleary has managed to do with lowly earning NRL footballers or pathways players. I don't think it stacks up. You look at their roster management and their succession planning, it is A1. You look at their culture and their pathways. Every single kid, it doesn't matter what age or what journey they've been on, looks ready to go. They know the plays. That is absolutely what they do well. What they don't do well, there's not many things they don't. The only thing that I have to say about what they don't do well is an argument that they could probably be rightly accused of pushing a few too many players out the door too quickly.
I got one.
I'm talking, hold on a minute, I'm talking your Crichtons, your Lanyus and your Luais, but that's a debatable point.
That's a completely debatable point because they keep winning comps.
So therefore, if you've got one, what's your weakness?
And it's, it is potentially not that big of a deal, but like if they have a weakness, it's culture. Like they're...
Hold on.
Yeah, hear me out. Like if they have a weakness, it's yet to pan out, 100% obviously yet to play out. But I do and have for a couple of years felt like there's a bubbling under the surface at Penrith of egos at play things that I think that they have been really, really good at managing. Like really, really good at managing. And I think that in a lot of ways they're moving certain players out of the club that like get to that point of elite status before it gets to a point of it coming to a head is actually part of the strategy, which is, I think, genius. Because most other clubs try to keep those like
elite players altogether, and it turns into the Chicago Bulls, right? Like with Pippen and Jordan. Like you stick with the ones that are really like the ones you need, and you just keep replacing them. But I do think this is all very abstract, but I do think that Nathan Cleary himself, mentally has the potential to turn into a weakness at that club, because he's just the way he's talking, bro. Like I feel, how many players have we ever seen in the NRL who have achieved what he's achieved at his age? We have an unprecedented level of success at the age that he has. He might literally be a retire young candidate, which you don't see in the NRL very much.
That's right.
Like, he might literally just be like, what the fuck else is there for me to do? I'm going to go, like, have kids with Mary, bro. I'm off, bro. I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad.
I'm not going to speculate on Nathan's future, but I do see him going to Super League or going to Rugby Union, because he's conquered everything he could possibly conquer.
That's a good point. The Rugby Union thing is a very valid point. Like, they've made it very abundantly clear that they're going to go hard after him. And why wouldn't he take that
Absolutely.
challenge on?
Well, he can live in England and base himself there.
And you know what Ivan's like. Ivan's not the sort of bloke who's going to, like, beg him to stay. If, like, he's his son. Like, if Nathan's like, I want to win a World Cup with the Wallabies, I've already won 3, maybe 4 by the time it happens. Maybe 5 by the time it happens.
That's right.
If like, Ivan's not going to, like, Ivan's not going to give a shit. Ivan will probably just retire on the spot and leave Penrith holding their dicks. If that ever happens. So yeah, like their weaknesses are that their strengths are too strong.
I hear that. In terms of what unique resources they have, like the Tigers, they have a massive junior base. Their biggest unique resources, they've got a coach, and besides Robbo,
They had 4 already.
they've got a coach who's won 4 in a row.
They've won 4?
They've won 4.
I thought it was 3.
No, it's 4.
We're at 4. I've lost count.
2021 v Rabbitohs, 2022 v Para, 23 v the Broncos, and 24
Did they
v
4-peat?
Melbourne.
Oh man, I thought we were a 3-peat. I've had it too many beers.
No. It's barely a limitation these days because they are the best of the best, but they represent a small part of Sydney and obviously New South Wales as well, obviously Bathurst and the like, which could make it tough to find sponsors, but when you're winning, it doesn't matter.
I forgot a weakness.
Go on.
They got no medals now.
Oh, no.
They've lost
No.
They've lost Len Yu and James Fisher-Harris in 2 consecutive off-seasons.
Len Yu went last year and didn't
2
affect them.
consecutive. Yeah, now they've lost their main guy.
Okay. But then a guy like...
They're missing the 8.
Then a guy like Isaiah Papali'i comes in.
Do you reckon he'll play middle?
No, I don't. I think he'll play left. I think he'll play left edge, and Sorensen will go back to the bench. But even then,
But, I mean,
then again, they've got a guy like Moses Leota.
Oh, don't they have that Heinz motto?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Mate, they had the best lock forward you've seen probably since Bradley
Dude,
Clyde.
Heinz Lamotto is the best junior in Australia aside from Galvin.
With Isaiah Yeo, Nathan Cleary and Dylan Edwards.
I forgot they have.
That's a terrible pull, by the way. That is atrocious.
I like froth.
With Isaiah Yeo there, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They will still succeed.
Have some.
It doesn't. It genuinely does not matter.
It does matter. James Fisher-Harris is an irreplaceable player. I don't give a fuck. Like,
Oh, they won't win a comp next year, but they'll still do
oh,
well.
you don't think they'll 5-peat? That's a big take. Jared Reedy's on the podcast saying Penrith can't 5-peat because they lost James Fisher-Harris.
And Jerome Luai.
Yeah, no, they can't 5-peat. Surely. Imagine if they did.
Early Crow Melbourne.
Can you imagine if they lose James Fisher-Harris and Jerome Luai and then 5-peat? What that means for the Cleary's legacy, both of them?
Oh, don't talk about it.
Mine. I think I still think that they're completely capable of it. They're completely capable of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Every other club's forgot how to win comps because they keep winning.
That's right. Oh,
Except for the West Tigers, because we never knew in the first place. It's impossible to forget how.
that's right, and we fluked it. In terms of unique resources, massive junior base. They've got a coach that's won 4 in a row. Their limitations, it's the smallest area of Sydney. Their opportunities, they've taken every opportunity that's ever come to them. The advantage is they hold, they're the premiers. But in terms of threats, it's the big Western Sydney clubs finally waking up.
You mean us?
I'm talking about the Bulldogs and us. Parramatta under Jason Rolls, I think they'll get there. That's their biggest threat. Everybody remembers Penrith in the mid 2000s, sorry, not the early 2000s because they won a comp, but the mid 2000s to the late 2010s, it just didn't really happen. What other threat do you have there, Joe?
Every cunt taking their players and then Union taking Cleary.
Accessibility shortcuts.
Oh,
That is a threat. To the point where Siri had to intervene. Talk more about it.
I mean, that's the threat. We just did talk about it. Like, every year they're just going to get the eyeballs picked up. Every time they unearth a good player, they can't afford to keep.
But every junior base does. So therefore,
no,
what does
this
the
is
prestige carry them through?
This is unprecedented. Like, what happens to them with, like, junior poaching is completely unprecedented, dude. There has not been a club in the NRL that has lost Burt, Crichton, Kikau, Lenu, Coruscant.
Blue Eye.
Coruscant's not a junior, but they
Tarua.
lost him regardless. But you know what I mean? Like, there's not been a club that has gone bang, bang, and just been gutted.
That's true.
James Fisher-Harris. There's not been a...
But I think that's a strength. You look at what they have.
Obviously, the fact that they're able to deal with it means that they're strong.
That's my point.
But it's not a strength that they keep losing these players.
That's true.
Eventually, the wheels have to fall off. They have to fall off. They're not going to... But you know what? One of the things you didn't mention that they have as a strength is that they... My gosh, they get some plus value out of some plotting fucking players, bro. Like, the amount of...
I said that in player development, so I'm talking about your Luke Garner.
Garner. Like, oh, God. Like, Luke Garner is now, what, a 3-time premiership? 2-time?
2-time.
But he also started in the grand final this year, didn't he?
He did.
And you're not good enough for the West Tigers? We loved him. The Tigers, he was a fan favourite.
He was.
What a miss that was. We really missed
He
it.
ran those suicide lines when Luke Brooks would pelt the ball into
He was
his...
the only
into
genuine
his
back
torso.
row we had. Anyway, all that to say, what? Go.
If the Tigers want a club to aspire to, then they should look no further than the Penrith Panthers. In terms of the clubs that we've reviewed, they're all a little bit different. But if you look at the Penrith Panthers, they are very similar. There's a massive junior base, there's an elite facility, there's good operators in the top roles, and there's an inability as well, in terms of a weakness, to procure elite sponsorship. The Roosters can get BYD.
So they do it with our weaknesses, is what you're saying. They succeed with our weaknesses.
A little bit, mate, yeah. But at the same time, the big junior base is a strength.
Yes, so they have our strengths and our weaknesses, so they make themselves a great blueprint.
That's right. You look at where Penrith were, and from a cash perspective, they were worse than what we were when they were on their knees. We were worse from a ladder position and a perception perspective from around the league, because obviously we spooned up 3 times. But today they're the cream of the crop. And that is proof right there that if you strip it right back and you put the right people in place, that you can build it from the ground up and you can achieve anything.
You can achieve anything.
But is it true?
Nah, man, everything you say is 100% accurate. But also, what I would add to that is that I think that destiny in sport is such an interesting thing, bro. Like, storylines play out constantly. And the West Tigers just three-peated the spoon, and the Penrith Panthers just four-peated the crab. And we just took Luai, and we just unearthed Galvin. And if there's one thing I've learned about the NRL is that, and just professional sport in general, is that there's this little lean they do. Maybe it's a strong lean, but I'm not going to we're not here to talk about refs. There's this little lean they do when they pick up on a potential storyline where it starts to advantage people a certain way and disadvantage others a certain way.
I see where you're going.
And I just have this feeling that this whole storyline in wrestling parlance has been leading up to
what you all think I'm talking about. And I think that the meat and potatoes of this episode, like, really what it comes down to is that, like, we have similar strengths and weaknesses to Penrith and similar limitations, and what they have are unique resources that we don't have, which is the coach and the success that they've already got on the field. But there's nothing about Penrith that we can't emulate. Nothing at all.
I concur.
There are things about Brisbane we cannot emulate, and there are things about the Tigers and the Penrith that the Gold Coast can't emulate because they haven't got the DNA. So the long story short is, what we need to do is put the right people in the right exact positions, and all it comes down to is doing that. Once you do that, whether that's Shane Richardson at CEO, or Benji at head coach, or Lachlan Galvin and Jerome Luai in the halves, once you do that, everything else becomes natural. It just happens. The rest of it is inconsequential. It's all about putting the right people in the right positions. It might not happen this next season, but it eventually happens. And it's also about, like Brisbane have demonstrated, when it's not going right, don't persevere past the point of it being a problem. And that's what they do super well. Once they recognise that it's too much, they maybe took Walters for 1 year too long. The Titans have taken coaches for 3 years, 2 years.
Definitely, yeah.
They're the lessons that the Tigers need to learn. Like, and I know you believe a lot in Richo, and I know you believe that a lot of what Richo's done has been to position himself to be able to get off the Benji train if it doesn't seem to be panning out. Right? So, like, there's a lot of promising signs. Like, I think that what this SWOT analysis tells is that the Tigers' endemic attributes are not terminal, and B, the things that we've done most recently are very positive.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of optimism to come from doing this exercise. I think that if I was, let's say hypothetically that if somebody had made me GM of football in the off season and I did this SWOT analysis and I benchmarked the Tigers against a whole bunch of other clubs, all I would look at is essentially making sure Lachlan Galvin resigns, and essentially keeping Benji very fucking honest. They're the two things that we need to take as lessons from this whole exercise.
Absolutely. And the clubs that we sort of analysed ourselves against were interesting, but I think that's made for a decent exercise. Mac, it's 8:22 in the evening. It's time to call it a night.
I had to keep this guy honest tonight. He had a few.
This has been great. I've really enjoyed this, and I think that I hope that the listeners agree that
the chemistry is different, isn't it?
It's much different.
But it's more fun.
But it's better. Look, we'll be back in about 5 to 6 weeks, I'm going to say hypothetically.
Yeah, probably end of Jan.
I'm going to try and get some training visits in. You and I will see each other.
I'll come down and watch an SG ball game. I've got to see Logan.
Yeah, you got to. We'll do all that. To everybody again.
Thanks
like,
for the
subscribe, follow. Thank you so much. It's been an up and down year in terms of how often we've actually produced episodes.
Yeah, but everybody's been so supportive. It's been awesome to have you.
From Nick to Tie-Dye to and out the other side.
Tim Johansson's dad.
Adam. And out the other side. It's been unreal. And the only reason we do this is because of those guys, isn't it?
We just do it for the Discord boys, let's be honest.
And everybody else that is an avid listener. Jolsey, Tigers Wests, all
Debs.
the rest. Yeah, Debsy boy.
Yeah, good on you, Debs.
All the rest.
Striker, love you, bro.
Tucker, that's it. Those guys are the reasons we do it. Look,
GNR fan.
we appreciate your help.
And we've come to the end of the season and we've had a car crash. Says
Merry Christmas. See you next year. Bye.